Most believers today can hold up a heavy, leather-bound volume and say, "This is the Word of God." It feels solid. It feels entirely complete. We are entirely accustomed to navigating this text through a highly organized grid. A preacher says, "Turn to this specific verse," and instantly, a congregation isolates one single sentence. We form doctrines, launch financial campaigns, and defend lifelong traditions based on these isolated, numbered lines. But historically speaking, Jesus never carried a Bible. Neither did Moses, David, or the apostles. The early believers never walked around with a single, neatly indexed book tucked under their arms. The prophets and apostles wrote continuous letters, historical records, and eyewitness testimonies. They expected their audiences to read complete thoughts and unbroken arguments, not slice their words into bite-sized, disconnected quotes. If the original laters didn't format their work with chapters and verses, where did this strict grid come from? And how has reading the text through this artificial structure secretly rewired our understanding of what it actually says? To find out, we have to reverse engineer the physical book, starting with the smallest, most recognizable feature, the verse numbers. For roughly 1,500 years of church history, these numbers simply did not exist. The numbering system most people use today was invented in 1551 by a French printer named Robert Estienne. These numbers weren't divinely inspired text. They were added purely as reference markers, the 16th century equivalent of page numbers. Imagine opening the Gospel of Matthew and finding 0 verse numbers. Sentences flow together, forcing you to read a continuous narrative. Now take away the chapter headings. Original manuscripts didn't have these either. Introduced around 1227 by Stephen Langton, they just made finding passages easier. Estienne and Langton created incredibly useful organizational tools, but they were just tools. They were never part of the original, inspired writings. While these navigational tools helped people find passages quickly, they also made it dangerously easy to stop reading. The grid encourages readers to pull a single sentence completely out of its surrounding narrative and ignore the author's broader argument. The final layer of this modern illusion is the leather binding itself. For centuries, there was no single volume to hold. The very word Bible comes from the Greek term biblia. It literally translates to books, plural. It is a library, a massive collection of writings brought together over roughly 1,500 years. In antiquity, the Torah was its own separate scroll. The Psalms were separate. Isaiah was separate. A church in one ancient city might possess a hand-copied version of a single letter from Paul, while a church 300 miles away had a completely different letter. Believers shared what they had, but no single group possessed a complete, standardized set. Compiling this massive library took hundreds of years. The exact dates are still debated, but history records a long, documented process where early church leaders formally identified and gradually standardized which writings were widely accepted. The scriptures did not fall from the sky, neatly bound and indexed. The collection you see today is an aggregated library, carefully curated over centuries and packaged with much newer technological formatting. To properly engage with this collection, we must look past the modern packaging and treat it like the ancient library it actually is. This library contains a vast array of specialized documents. It holds ancient laws, royal historical records, apocalyptic literature, deeply personal letters, and poetry. Every single piece of literature in this collection must be understood according to its specific genre, its original audience, and its original purpose. A strict civic command given to the ancient nation of Israel is not automatically a command given to a modern reader, and a long speech made by one of Job's friends isn't necessarily representing God's position. Context determines the meaning. When we rely too heavily on chapter breaks and verse numbers, we strip away that context. We turn complex, nuanced historical documents into disconnected sound bites that can be weaponized to support nearly any personal opinion. Owning the physical text has never been the ultimate goal. Philip encounters an Ethiopian official holding a scroll and asks the only question that matters. Do you understand what you're reading? A reader who truly seeks the truth must learn to look past the numbers, Estienne added, and the chapter breaks Langton invented. We have to engage with the complete, unbroken messages exactly as the ancient authors intended them to be read.